Hi, David here from Jetpack Workflow. Thanks for tuning in. I wanted to spend a few minutes and go over the 1040 tax return workflow diagram. Now, of course, we want to create diagrams and workflows inside of our firm or practice because it gives us a consistent, value-driven deliverable to a client. The more consistent it is, the more value they experience, the less there's a price comparison, the more referrals you get, the word of mouth spreads, and your firm and practice begins to grow. Now, more importantly, from an internal perspective, workflow gives you transparency over how work is being moved throughout your firm. So I want to spend a couple minutes and walk through this workflow diagram. Now, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can always go to jetpackworkflow.com/blog to learn more about this workflow. We have some articles and free interviews there as well. So let's go through the setup and mindset of this workflow diagram. Now, I created this in a very simple tool called Google Draw. It's in Google Drive. You can use a whiteboard, pen and paper. You can use mind mapping tools like Xmind. I prefer to keep it as simple as possible. The goal is to get the information on print, on paper, on a software application like this, just so you can see all the elements in a single place. If you prefer Post-it notes, use Post-it notes. If you like whiteboards, use whiteboards. Whatever it may be, just be sure to start the process. Now, we always recommend including and involving your team. Your team experiences this workflow. They understand where the bottlenecks are. They might have an additional step that you might have overlooked because you've been doing this for so long, but they know that this step's part of the process. So we highly recommend including your team when you set up your workflow diagram. And they will also help you optimize and perhaps include areas or additional steps where things can be streamlined, or ways to avoid confusion in instructions or confusion in client expectations. So it's really important to involve your team if you have one. All right, so let's go ahead and start. I like to put this into three buckets: receive and confirm, process and fulfill, and then file and follow up. Okay, so let's look at the first bucket, receive and confirm. Obviously, there's a client request. We receive, confirm, and if there's info missing, we send it back to a client request. I always like to put these boxes in red just to identify potential bottlenecks in the process. Now, we put a pretty basic overview inside of receive and confirm. Now, for your firm or practice, I would recommend, really thinking through this client request. Okay, does it happen when you're onboarding a new client? Is there an additional meeting on board? Does it happen via email? Do they drop things off? Is there a client portal they have to log into? Are the expectations set? Do they understand what they need to upload or import? Are there ways that you can automatically do this? Is there a call script or an email template that you want to set up so every time there's a client request, you can just send it out so you're not reinventing the wheel every time you have to send out an email? So again, that's what I like about putting buckets throughout this workflow process, is because you can really zoom in and take a look at a specific step and say, okay, if this is the bottleneck, info is missing, and we have to go to this client request, okay, are there templates we can include? Are there better instructions we can have? Is there a better onboarding process we can have for this client? Okay, and so this is a really great opportunity to see, can we save time here? Can we really wow our clients with our onboarding process or that first contact point? So often as a firm, they'll ask for information. The client will send stuff. It's the wrong information. It's incomplete. But is there a way that you can set expectations? Is there a client checklist? Is there, a video? So if you can send to your client. So for example, if your client's a online company or they have an e-commerce store, so maybe they use something like a tool called Shopify or whatever else, you can shoot a video, a 60-second video on how they can export that information and get it over to you. You can shoot a video that they can send to their bookkeeper. If you're not doing their books and they have a separate bookkeeper, you could shoot a video of what to ask or request from that bookkeeper to send to them. You can give them a pre-written email that they can just copy and paste and forward to their bookkeeper. And you can see how, this process, you really try to be proactive. You really try to build that relationship. You really try to show that you are on top of everything. And there's no questions or expectations the client doesn't know about. These templates are here, the videos are here, everything's clear, everything's very visual, they can understand everything. The more we start thinking about making it easier for the client to get that first step complete, the better off we'll be, because that's so often the first experience. And again, it can be an in-person meeting, it can be through email, through sending help videos, whatever it may be. Really think through this first experience, because that's going to help increase productivity and profitability throughout the entire firm. So next we're going to look at process and fulfill. Or, we go into the process stage and maybe you're opening up a specific application, complete that tax return, passing it along for review. Now, what I think is interesting is we've worked with firms where sometimes the review stage will be very transparent what they're reviewing, and other times it won't. It'll be kind of this secret checklist that a partner goes through. Why not at least give a high-level understanding of your preparers, how you review their work, and then perhaps that review process can be cut down. Again, we see some bottlenecks here, info missing, and we have to message client and then it has to go back into process. Again, are there things early on that we can do to really reduce or potentially eliminate these two steps? Finally, we're going to look at file and follow-up. We go into the final review, we have the final meeting, and then we schedule the next meeting. We discuss other services. Maybe we discuss other opportunities. How is this built into your workflow? And you notice I actually have this blue box right here, the final meeting and payment. Now, we've worked with firms where the payment will be at the end, the payment will be at the beginning. We recommend, if you can, requesting the payment at the beginning of the service to really kickstart. It could be the first meeting, they pay for the service up front. They never have to think about it again. Versus trying to chase down payments 30, 60 to 90 days out. This is after the client received the value, they've kind of already forgotten about the service, and now they have to pay that bill that comes in a couple weeks, 4 weeks after that service was closed out. It's very difficult to track those down, chase those down. It's non-billable time for all the accounts receivables. So we're huge fans of getting that payment up front, or at least a percentage of that payment up front. If you for whatever reason, want to have the payment after the service, then we recommend, scheduling that final meeting and then requesting that they bring a check. And if for whatever reason they forget a check, have your credit card processor, in-house where you can just take that information. You can, get it in there. And I know some firms might say, well, the extra percentage points that you're going to get off of the credit card, I just can't believe, we do that. We'd rather prefer a check. But I like to prioritize cash flow so we can get back to growing the firm and the practice. We can, look at additional services. We can improve our customer or client relationship. We can, look at marketing initiatives or whatever else, or we can review our metrics and our onboarding and our systems and process. All of these things I feel are more important than trying to chase down payments. So we're always big fans of, again, putting systems in place to make sure that that is accomplished. So if you like this video, go ahead and comment below. You can always share it with a friend or a colleague or with your team so you can begin reviewing your own workflow. And if you want additional articles, free interviews, we have our Growing Your Firm podcast. You can get that on iTunes. We have it on the site as well. We have free articles we publish every week. You can always go to jetpackworkflow.com/blog to check out more information. Thank you.